Shalom. We should be able to learn very good lessons from our ancestors about our own lives. And one of the things we can learn about the relationship between Abraham and Sarah is perhaps how to improve our relationships and our marriage. Now, there are definitely sources that say they had a great marriage, and they interpret all the things in the Torah to say that he was bewailing her when she sadly died. But I think if you take a good hard look at the Parashat, the basis of the story, you'll see they didn't have a very good marriage, and we can learn things from it. And the key here to understand is that in every relationship, think about it as a bank account. You either make deposits or you take withdrawals. And there's always going to be times when you want to take a withdrawal, when you're not feeling well or you're upset. But you need to have a very solid foundation of positive deposits in order to withdraw without ruining the relationship. And I think if you look at it that way, you'll see that Abraham made a lot of withdrawals and very few deposits, and they did not have a good relationship. For example, in the week in which I'm recording this, it's Parashat Chayai Sarah, which means the life of Sarah, but it actually is the story of her death. Now, it does say some beautiful things about her. It says that she was 127 years, and uses the word years after each one of those phrases. The rabbi said that the reason why the Torah doesn't say 127 years, but says 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, is to make the point that at 100 she was as beautiful as 20, and at 20 she was as pure as when she was 7. But just think about their relationship. It starts in Lech Lecha 2 weeks ago, when God says to Abraham, go forth and go to a new land, or a land where I will show you. Now, in the text, does Abraham consult with Sarah before saying, I'm going to go? No, he doesn't consult with her at all in the Parashat. And then we have all these other stories where things are not very good from there. For example, we have the story where he's threatened, he feels threatened by the king, and so when the king says, who's this woman, instead of saying it's my wife, he says it's his sister. Therefore suggesting the king can be intimate with her, and really was putting her in grave danger. And then in Genesis 22, when God says, take your son Isaac and sacrifice him, does Abraham consult with Sarah? No. In fact, one of the Midrashim says that she dies in this Parsha, and Abraham and Sarah never talk again, because he never consulted her, and she woke up and found out that he had taken her son to be sacrificed. In addition, when she dies in Beersheba and in Hebron, and in the Torah text says that Abraham came to Hebron to cry about her. So where was he? They were living apart. And then it says, Liv chota, which is a small chaf in the word liv chota, to cry. Now, one traditional commentary says because he kept most of his grief private. But there's another standard midrash that says the reason it says liv chota is to tell us the obvious truth, that he didn't cry fully, that they didn't have such a good relationship, and so he wasn't totally desolate when she died. And so you think about all of these stories where they didn't have a very good relationship, and he kept taking withdrawals. He decided to leave their homeland without consulting her. He decided to sacrifice their son without consulting her. He says that she's his sister and not his wife, to put her in grave danger. And so what we can learn from this is, and also, she paid him back a little bit. You think about the story last week where God sends his angel to tell her she's going to have a baby, and they're both in their 90s, and she says, I'm too old and my husband's too old. So she's making fun of him too. Now, God doesn't tell Abraham that. When Abraham asks, God tries to keep domestic peace and harmony. And so one of the things we need to learn from this story is how to improve our own relationships, continue to make positive deposits, consult our spouses, have a loving, warm sense of shalom. Don't be startled by the idea that our biblical characters weren't perfect. We don't believe in perfect human beings. Everybody makes mistakes. But one of the legacies that they can give us, even though Abraham was one of the great people in all of human history, maybe he wasn't such a good husband, and the text seems to indicate that. And so we need to learn from that. The Parsha of Chayai Sarah. We pay tribute to Sarah in this Torah portion as she now leaves us after being the first Jewish woman and the first Jewish matriarch.